today's content, which is get loose. And remember, we said the idea of change readiness. Well, one of the things we like to think of in terms of being ready to change is to be flexible and open and ready to take on new things and think about things in new ways. So this little segment here is designed to stimulate that to happen for you. Let's take a look at this one. Use your chat to tell me why it is hard for some people to connect the 9 dots below using 4 straight lines without retracing or lifting their writing implement. They imagine boundaries that aren't there. I think some people put a mental square box around the 9 dots. The solution leads you to believe that, yeah, so basically you're saying is, there's really not a box there, but people think there's a box there because of the layout of the dots, so they constrain themselves to that. And that makes it harder to solve the problem. So before we go on, let's solve the problem. Does somebody want to tell me, you can unmute and tell me how to solve it?
So start with the bottom right-hand dot.
Bottom right.
Then go up to the top left-hand dot.
Top left.
And then go down all the way past the 3rd dot.
Okay.
Then you go up and connect the 2 dots that are unconnected right now up to the upper right.
These two?
Yep. And then back all the way over to the left.
Excellent. Good job. Who was that?
That's Jim.
Hey, Jim, good job.
Thanks.
Summarize, because it requires a change in the way they usually think. 4-line solutions break through walls that aren't there. So good job. Now, okay, who wants to do the 3-line one? Jay, go ahead.
I don't know if you're supposed to hit the exact center point of each line, but
no, you're not. You don't have to do that.
Not. So if you're not, then you would just take the lines really far out so that you're clipping them, and you just do 3 strokes across them.
Very, very long lines relative to the dots, right? So you can do that in 2 ways, right? You can have very long lines and small dots, or you can have very fat dots in regular lines. So what are you doing here? As you described, we're changing the relative size of the dots and the lines, right? Okay, so clever so far. How do we do 1? How do we do it in 1 line?
Big fat line?
Jay, you already went. There you go.
Sorry, Peter.
1 line, like he's saying, like a paint roller. Imagine a paint roller blowing through all 9 dots, no problem. And then there's another way, which is to affect the surface that the dots are written on, right? We haven't had anybody do this yet, right? You take the paper, fold it up. Nobody said we couldn't do that, right? So we do that to give ourselves all the dots on top of each other and just draw 1 line and connect them all. And then we have the origami solution where we fold the paper and end up connecting all the 9 dots. Same thing, right? Now, there's actually one more. At MIT, we studied non-Euclidean geometry where all lines are really part of the same line and connected infinity. It looks something like this. So this is all 1 line. You would never at any point know that it was bending. So the point is that there's lots of different ways to always break through and come up with new ways of looking at things. So maybe you've been familiar with the 9 dot problem from before, but we just want to push it a little bit to get the most out of it we can. But let's go 1 step further and change it a little bit and say, let's pretend we're a business. And our business is connecting dots, and the cost of doing business is lines. So the question is, how would we maximize dot connectedness while minimizing lines to maximize profits? So the chat question for now is, what's the minimum number of lines that you can use to connect 9 dots to get maximum dot connectedness? Remember, this is practice for you to learn to use the chat in response to points. 1. Any other answers? Can anybody think of a non-negative whole number less than 1? No lines. The smarty pants there. Okay, so no lines. What about this? Does this qualify? We have 9 dots, they're all connected. We said we want to maximize dot connectedness while minimizing lines. There's no lines, so we have a very profitable business right here. Is that as profitable as it can get? Can anybody think of a way? Well, I took this problem to kids at a Take Your Kids to Work Day when a company I was working at, and one of the children of the parents that worked in that company, who was about, I don't know, she might have been 8 years old, said she could do it, and she had an even more connected scenario, and this was it. It looks a little bit like a flower, right? She took one of the dots and made it big. We never said anywhere here that you were constrained in the size of the dot. So she turned it into a flower. And I told that story to someone from MIT, actually a group of people from MIT, and one of the guys there said, well, what about this? So again, the idea is that there's probably no perfect right final answer. You know, it would just keep pushing it. We keep making better and different, more, and the whole point here is to keep on doing that with whatever you're dealing with.